Well, hello, my friends. It's Shawn Petite, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Look at this fun we're creating today. For this whole week, I'm going to be doing videos for the winter stencil launch. Here are the supplies that we'll be using today. So today I'm doing a voiceover for this project, but the rest of the week I will be actually doing live, more hands-on videos and just showing lots of different techniques and how you can use the stencils, the winter stencils. But for today, I was creating this for a show and for prints, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to turn the camera on and show you how I created it. So I'm starting out on a 12 by 12 MDF board, and I have some vintage papers down, or I'm putting some vintage papers down. And that middle, oh holy night, there are several Christmas papers that are available free in the resource library. And I will have a link to the resource library down below in the YouTube description box. So I am putting the papers down. I'm planning right now my landscape. And so I've got the lighter colors at the top. I've got the Oh Holy Night because I knew I was going to put the Christmas tree kind of right there in the center. And I'm making my hills and my little mountains there, or whatever you want to call them, out of my paper. It gives me a guide. It won't stay exactly the same, but it helps me see where I'm going. And so I love putting my papers down that way. It helps me get a feel for the landscape, for the valleys and the hills and that kind of thing. It creates great pattern and texture and helps tell the story of the piece. And it also gives a lot of great shape to the piece as well when you've got the papers and you've kind of planned it out in the way that I have. So now I'm starting with the background, and I want my layers to be light because I want that Oh Holy Night to stand out in the background, because that's going to be right behind the Christmas tree. That's going to be on that hill. I'm starting with some transparent yellow oxide and a little bit of gold in there. And it's just a craft paint or a Deco Art Fluid acrylic. And now I'm using Lucas's paint, and I use primarily all Lucas paints for this piece. And that's a diazonine purple, I believe. And I'm just kind of laying down the color and then smoothing it back out with my rag. And I wanted that kind of light halo, kind of heavenly glow coming down, so that's why that part in the middle is really light. And then the purple in the background, as if it was dark and the sun is set, and the light is going to really show up a ton next to that purple. I've added a little bit of Golden's Payne's Gray. And I'm again going horizontally to create that landscape landscape background. And I'm really trying hard here to really kind of get mystical, shadowy, kind of like there might be some mist coming from the ground, you know, when it's cold and the weather's changing, that kind of thing. Now I'm going to start putting in my snow-covered hills, and I'm using gesso for my white, and I'm just kind of blocking in all of the color, and then again I'll pull that back because I still want that pattern to show through, because it adds so much interest to what you're doing when you can see that little bit of pattern in the background. And I'm just now trying to kind of get an idea, okay, so where the hills might be, where I might have some snow drift kind of thing. Just kind of really getting an idea for where I want things placed. And again, trying to find my lines of the paper so that I can accentuate those. So now I've got my Christmas tree stencil And I love the shape of these trees. And the reason I love using stencils is because it makes things go so fast. And that's what I love. I love creating fast. I have an idea. I want to start and complete it. So now I'm just going to start laying down my trees. Now, what I want you to think about when you're creating this is perspective. So you're going to have your bigger trees more towards the front and your smaller trees towards the back. And you'll have less detail towards the back because the farther back they get, the less, they'll be a little bit more shadowy, that kind of thing. And the other thing I love about this stencil too, all of the stencils, is I can make it my own. I can use the entire stencil, or I can only use a portion of it, and you'll see that in just a little bit. In all of the trees, I'm mixing my colors. I'm mixing a combination of green gold and olive green so that the trees are not flat, so that they have some variety and some interest, some shadow, shade. One side might be lighter or darker with the moonlight or sun or whatever, however you might be creating this. You can see in this tree that I've got a lot of light in it towards the side, and when I pull that off, I love the look of it. You can see some shadow. And so now I'm only going to use part of the stencil because I wanted a smaller tree. The tree on the hill. And I'm coming back and just adding a little bit of variety, a little bit of highlight to some of the trees if they felt too dark. I've also grabbed one of my other tree stencils, and I've made these ones really dark because they're in the back, super shadowy and shaded. But I wanted a different shape of a tree, so this is also available in the shop as well. So now I'm going to just start defining everything. And I started with my palette knife, and I ended up not using it because I wanted this to be a soft version of what I typically do. I typically can go all the way with grunge, and when I started, I was like, nope, it's not the feel that I wanted. So I decided to just come back in and use my brush and have a softer feel because I really wanted this to be soft and quiet and meaningful. So I'm just using a small brush and my gesso and just starting to lay in my snow and get an idea of where I might see some buildup of snow, drifts of snow, patches of snow, that kind of thing. I'm also being mindful to not cover everything completely because I still want that pattern of the paper to show through. Using my same brush, I'm now just going to add the snow to the trees and making it very light, subtle, and soft. Now I'm using some of that transparent yellow oxide and some gesso mixed together to add some lights to that tree, really bring it to life, make it kind of the star of the show, and putting a star on the top. Adding just a tiny bit of that yellow and gesso mixed together because I really wanted the focus to be right there in that place of the tree, really kind of bright and shiny without being too much. So I kept pulling it back until I got the right mixture of the paint to really make it kind of glow. And I'm just adding a tiny bit of gray to the top to just kind of, again, add to that kind of misty feeling of the piece. Bringing some of that purple down to the bottom because purple is a great color for shadow and shading, and it unifies the piece and brings that color down into the bottom of the piece, keeps the eye moving around. So now I'm going to do my shading. I don't shade as much as I typically do with this piece because I loved the way that it was going, and I wanted it to be really soft and kind of gentle almost. And so I do just a tiny bit of shading. I do shade around the trees, but very lightly. So I often will take a picture of my piece as I'm working. I do it all the time throughout. It helps me see, it helps me get perspective of maybe what's missing or what isn't, what needs to happen, if there's additional shading, that kind of thing. So keep that in mind if you're unsure about where something is going. So now I'm going to add my deer, and I love this stencil. And this deer is looking at the tree. Kind of everything is in awe. And I'm adding some colors, some different colors within the deer so that it's not flat and completely the same color. Now I'm going to go back in and kind of fill all the lines in, make sure that everything is connected, the legs, the antlers, all that kind of thing. I'm adding just a few speckles of white that you might see on a deer, just kind of lightly. I'm going to do my shading, and that's about it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed today's video. There will be a video every day this week, just kind of showing you the fun that I'm having with the new stencils. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and I will do my best to answer those questions. All the links to what I've used today and the stencils will be down below in the YouTube description box. If you like what I did today, subscribe so that you don't miss a video. This is the 'Tis the Season stencil. This was last year's Christmas stencil, so it fit perfectly. I was going to use one of the other ones, but it fit perfectly for this piece, so I went ahead and used it. So I hope you will come back tomorrow and we'll have some more fun with the Christmas stencils. All right, my friends, have a wonderful day.